Okay, I was wondering if Mike could hear. Oh, there we go. Now we're recording. Thank you, Patricia. I don't know why it took so long for it to start.
Yeah.
Interesting. So if you've been here for a few minutes, you know we've been logged in and telling jokes, or I should say Patricia's been telling most of the jokes. So thank you, Patricia, for the jokes. We always like to start with some banter and some fun little jokes to remember throughout your day. You can go tell other people, or if you have kids, they're always nice and clean jokes. So we are in Google Meets. So here's some navigations. You can react to things. Feel free to use the emojis at the bottom to react to content as things are going through. It's completely fine. To mute or unmute, use the mute button, of course. Raise your hand if you'd like to share thoughts or answer questions or pose questions. And then also you can definitely get into the chat pane because people will be chatting their communications throughout the whole hour. So enjoy and interact as much as possible. If you're not speaking, remember to mute. And if you experience any technology issues, please reach out to Patricia. You can IM her in Google, or you can email her, or however you want to get a hold of her. But she is our tech person today. She's going to help with any problems that we might have that arise during this 1-hour webinar. So it is April the 23rd, which I cannot believe that we are past Easter and going into what will soon be summer. That is just crazy to me. The year has flown by. So yep, April 23rd. The PSCP board, we are definitely committed to bringing you guys quality content. We really do pride ourselves in making sure that our webinars are just fantabulous. And I think today's is going to be amazing. And I think you guys are going to be so interested. I know I am. But we also like to, provide any type of collaboration opportunities. And these are our events every other month that we want you to engage in. We want you to talk. We want you to speak up, ask questions, all of those things. And overall, our big mantra and I repeat this all the time, even in my job, is we're all here to ensure that everyone impacted by change is successful with that change. And that's what we do. So welcome, welcome. Again, we learn from each other. We build our knowledge. We inspire and lead change throughout the world. And we believe in all different types of change management. We don't have to just do one. So any type of methods we are open to, and we want to hear about them. So welcome, and thank you for being a part of PSCP. Our agenda, we've already done our jokes and our welcome. Real quickly, I'll introduce the PSCP board, and then we'll have a few more announcements, and then we're going to dive into our main meet of our day. And it's going to be Mariana Hernandez. She's from DIA, or DEN, D-E-N, Denver International Airport. And so we will be hearing all about what they're doing there on research and innovation. It's so exciting. And then we'll do a quick Q&A at the end and a closing. So I'm Michelle Malloy. I've been doing PSCP for a long time, and I really enjoy it. And here in a minute, I'm going to ask if anybody's interested to join the board. So get ready for that. Doug Oates is not here right now. He might join later. I think he's in a strategy meeting right now. So Elizabeth, I don't think is here today. I think she might try to join, but I don't think she's here today. Corey, are you here? I don't know if Corey's here today either. I know I see Jamie, Patricia. So Jamie and Patricia wave. They're on the board, and I love working with PSCP board too. So that goes into the next thing, the segue. If you guys want to join us, please, please, please shoot us an email. We would love to have another member on the board to fill the role of production lead. That person is going to handle talking with our speakers, doing the dry runs, scheduling them, those types of things. And it's a really neat way to network and get to know a lot of different people and talk to them about what's going on in their world. So I really strongly encourage you, please, if you're just even on the fence about it, throw us an email. We'll talk to you more about it and give you a lot more details. It won't take up a ton of your time. but we would love to have you consider it. So again, send us an email anytime and we will get back to you right away. In the email, why are you interested? Why are you suited? What is your favorite thing about change management? Really, you can tell us anything in that email. These are just some ideas. But definitely shoot us an email. We'd like to have you join our board. We meet once a month on the back end, and then we have our webinars every other month. And then Elizabeth does our awesome newsletters every other month. And so again, it's not going to take a ton of your time, but it is very engaging. So if you need PMI PDUs, make sure to fill out the survey at the end of this session. And that's how we know to send it to PMI that you've attended. And we'll give you that link soon. Our nonprofit goal, we are on our way. So we're about a quarter of the way there. We would like to raise about $2,000 before we submit the paperwork to become nonprofit. I think we need to have a little bit in there before we can really bite the bullet. In the meantime, the board pays for all of the things like Google and our URL or whatever, all of our stuff. So we all pay for that out of our own pockets. So if we could go nonprofit and use some funding from our members, that would be great. We will definitely be great stewards of any money that you submit to us. I promise you that. We're very, frugal. We're very frugal people. As you know, working in government, we tend to all be that way. So anyways, you can QR code that real quick if you want to click on the GoFundMe. We would love to see us to get, at least up to halfway. Maybe I would love $2,000 before we submit the paperwork, so that I know that there's funds in there to pay for our mailing address and our UPS box and our URLs and all the stuff, the MailChimp, all the stuff that we use. So I know that it will work for at least, in the foreseeable future. So again, our GoFundMe is at that QR code. There's a cool showcase coming up in Colorado we wanted to share with you, the Government Innovation Showcase. Colorado's Innovation Edge, Empowering Communities and Shaping Tomorrow. It's on November 19th of this year. If you want to scan that QR code, you can register. It's supposed to be a really good one, so I encourage you to do that. And if you don't get it right now, of course, we'll have the deck posted on the website later. So again, throughout the day and throughout this next hour, your voices are so very important to us. And we would really like you to, unmute, ask questions, share your ideas, complete the survey at the end of the session. And if you want to present, let us know. We would love to have you. So that is this is my introduction slide for you, Mariana. So Mariana Hernandez is here today. She's going to talk to us about driving change through strategic foresight, a case study from DIA. And I'm sure everybody here is so interested in Denver International Airport because it's probably touched your lives at one point or another. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I welcome Mariana to our event today. And Mariana, you feel free to, start sharing your screen.
All righty. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Awesome. Yes. Okay. I have been having some computer issues this morning. It restarted on me and then I woke up with a cough. So it's just been one of those mornings. But on the bright side, it is beautiful out here in Denver today. So I can't complain. Bring on the allergies.
Yes, I know. I've been sneezing so much too, but I'm loving the weather. So.
Yeah. All right. So hello and good morning, everyone. All of you wonderful change makers that have made the time to be here. I am hopeful that you are able to take away some great nuggets from today's session. As Michelle said, my name is Mariana Hernandez, and I am the Manager of Research for DUN's Research and Innovation Program. And today's session is really going to focus on applying research, foresight, and making sure that we keep people centered in the design where we drive large organizational change. So things that you will walk away with today, you will learn what megatrends are if you don't already, because they can serve as a great starting point for future-ready planning and innovation. We will cover how Dent build a practical tool, which we call the Megatrends Framework, to drive strategic alignment and change. I'll go through some lessons learned from year one, including the value of starting small, staying flexible, and learning as you go. And lastly, we'll cover ways to empower staff at all levels to participate in that creative problem solving and long-term thinking. Okay, so let's take a moment to dive into some context first, because Den International Airport is a city in itself. So it is the sixth busiest airport globally, the third in North America. And interestingly enough, if you've been to the airport anytime within the last couple of years, you'll notice that we are always under construction. And that is because the airport was originally designed for approximately 50 million annual passengers. And if you see here, just last year, we were at 82.4 million. And that is continuing to grow. With that, Den is the economic engine for the region, with roughly 1,200 companies that work in Den, and that employs approximately 40,000 employees. So as you can see, based on these numbers and it being such a fast changing environment, forward thinking innovation isn't optional for us, it's necessary. And so with that, we have what we call our Vision 100, which is our long-term strategic plan. And that's what's going to really enable us to be prepared for 100 million passengers. And that could happen as soon as 2030. So that's coming regardless whether we're ready or not. I mean, obviously, we want to be ready. So this strategic plan serves as the foundation for all of the work across the organization. And it's really centered around these 4 pillars that you see here on the screen: empowering our people, growing our infrastructure, maintaining what we have, and expanding our global connections. And then along with these 4 pillars are our 4 guiding principles: sustainability and resiliency, equity, diversity, inclusion, and accessibility, operational excellence, and enhancing the customer experience. So all of these things are incorporated into the execution of those 4 pillars. Research and innovation, so my team, sits within our first pillar, empowering our people. And that is because the goal of research and innovation is to ensure that we enable our people to do innovation. We actually sit within the Center of Equity and Excellence in Aviation, which is also known as CIA. So I will cover that here in the next slide. So CIA is the first of its kind in the aviation industry. Not only does it represent transformational programming, but it's also a physical space. It's currently under construction, and construction is supposed to wrap up by the end of this year and open up to the public as early as next year. So we are really, really excited for that. We will have a makerspace, research and innovation lab, a ton of conference spaces. So lots of exciting stuff coming there. And like I said, it's going to be open to the public. So it'll sit right where RTD buses and the train come through. So really easy access for people to get to. And so the overall goal of CIA is to serve as an accelerator for economic and workforce development through our 3 key program areas. We have our business learning and development programming, which is supporting minority, women, and veteran-owned small businesses so that they can be prepared to do business at Den. Intentionally preparing then also the future generation of aviation workers through our career pathways programming. So we cover anything from the littles, kindergarten, all the way up to 21 through our Dentern program, our internships that we have here. And then we also have internal DEN employee programming to support them in their career pathways. And then there's my team. This is the least mature, newest to SIA, Research and Innovation. And for us, we are shaping the future of aviation through researching emerging megatrends. And we'll cover what megatrends are here shortly. This is our small but mighty team. So like I said, I'm the manager of research. So I oversee the research side of things. We have Rebecca Tate, who is the manager of innovation, and we have our awesome administrator one, who supports all of the programming. And so for us, we really focus on, if you think of innovation as a spectrum, we really focus on strategic, large-scale innovations with the goal of driving long-term transformation in industry leadership, really starting to like be that thought leader around what does innovation look like at airports. And so when I started at DEN approximately a year ago, last week actually was my anniversary, I came in, you know, all excited, and I immediately was like, okay, DEN is also facing a very common challenge in public agencies, and that is, how are you preparing for the future when daily operations demand constant attention? The airport never sleeps, right? It's 24/7. And so how do you start thinking about the future? How do you prepare and do risk for the future? The answer, contrary to the picture that I have here, is not investing in a magic crystal ball, but the answer really is strategic foresight. And so that's where the megatrends come in. So megatrends, as we define them here at DEN, are large-scale transformative forces that are changing the way the world operates. They are not predictions. They are patterns of change that shape possibilities. And so obviously, I mean, you all know this, change is intimidating, especially when you haven't taken action to prepare. And so for us, it's like, okay, we know that these changes are changing the way the world operates. That's going to include aviation and airport operations. So I'm going to pause there for a second, and I'm going to share a different screen if I can get it to do that. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite you to answer a question on Poll Everywhere if you are familiar with that software. Let's see. There we go. Whatever update happened to my computer did not make it go any faster. I'll tell you that. So you should be able to see a QR code on the screen. You can scan it and join that way, or you can join using pollev.com/den472. The question, if for some reason you can't access that, feel free to just drop your answer in the chat here on Google as well. The question is, what do you think is the biggest change facing airports in the next 10 years? So take a moment to sign up. And I do have 1 to 2 more questions for this. So if you can have this pulled up, that'll help with the next couple of questions. So while you're doing that, I'll talk a little bit through some of the things that we spent our last year looking into. We looked into and did research on changing demographics, knowing that our population in general is aging faster than we are bringing the new generations in. And so what is that going to mean in terms of mobility challenges, how people get around airports, how people get around cities in general? What does it look like to be inclusive for folks? Keeping those things in mind. Another thing that we looked into was a changing workforce, knowing that remote work was something that was really positive for a lot of folks, especially coming out of COVID. How have employees' expectations changed since that? So those are just some examples. All right, and then should be able to see if any responses are coming through. AI, for sure, right? We are in the middle of the age of artificial intelligence, and that is such a broad trend. There's so many different technologies that are coming through that. What does that mean for the workforce? What does that mean for how we do our work, right? There's a lot of times fears that come from AI, the uncertainty that comes with all of that. Climate, right? I don't know about you all, but one thing I've noticed, and I haven't lived in Colorado very long, but sometimes when I'm driving home from the airport, I'm like, wow, this wind is something else. I'm like clutching my steering wheel to the point where I'm like, okay, gotta be careful with these cars. If somebody lets their hands off the steering wheel, they're gonna go right into me because of this wind. But like, think about that in terms of airports. When those types of things happen, we can't take off from certain runways. How do we navigate situations where maybe we are going to have a world or future where we have increased wind speeds? Okay, so thank you all for your participation. I'm going to stop sharing that screen. I'm going to bring back up the previous one. There we go. Okay. So we've talked through what are megatrends, and so now why megatrends? Obviously, we know it's going to impact for us airport and aviation operations, but really there are three core reasons why we are invested in megatrends, and that is because one, future readiness. Megatrends really help us scan the horizon and build organizational foresight muscle for anticipating change, because that's what we want to do, right? We want to anticipate change rather than just be reactive to it. And so for all of us on this call, as change makers, we don't want to be waiting for disruption to knock on our door. We should be engaging in the work of tracking signals, exploring scenarios, and positioning ourselves to adapt. Second reason is due to strategic alignment. Megatrends ensure that innovation and planning efforts tie back to the airport's larger goals, especially for us, Vision 100. It's really easy for agencies to get caught up in chasing the newest, coolest, shiniest idea. So it really helps reduce that innovation whiplash where, okay, this really cool technology comes out, let's go chase after it. Oh, wait, 6 months has passed and something else has come up. Let's chase after that. And so again, this framework that I will be introducing can really help organizations stay grounded in what matters long term. And then the last reason is informed innovation for us. A lot of times innovation frameworks start at ideation. So they tend to start with the solution in mind. For us, we want to start with focusing on the right problems, and we want to make sure that our efforts are grounded in research. So instead of starting with the solutions, we start with signals. So that innovation isn't just creative, but rather strategic. And that way, this empowers our employees to contribute meaningfully with a deeper understanding of the long-term forces that are shaping their work, our work. All right, so here it is. This is the Megatrends framework. So I created this framework to provide in a structured way to identify, explore, and act on megatrends, these long-term forces that are shaping our airport industry. So it consists of 4 phases. Phase 1 is trend identification and research prioritization. So that is us defining what megatrends we're going to focus on annually. And I'll dive a little bit deeper into these in the following slides. Phase 2 is going to be research and discovery. So this has us diving deeply into those selected megatrends, validating their impact, and uncovering the opportunities for DEN. Phase 3 is from insights to action. From phase 2, we have a list of opportunities and action items. How do we then translate that research into actionable projects? And so I will cover how we integrated into existing systems at the airport on that one. And then finally, we have phase 4. So we have our evaluation, integration, and implementation phase. So this ensures that research-backed innovations enter that innovation pipeline and that they lead to real change at DEN. This entire framework is completely focused on making sure that through our people, we are the best in class, which is our airport's mission. And through this work, we want to emerge as the nation's preeminent aviation thought leader, which is our vision. Okay, so kind of like double clicking into phase 1. I would say that one of the biggest learnings I've had is that coalition building is just as important as vision. You can have the best ideas, but if you're not bringing people along, especially those already doing the work, because innovation is happening all across the organization, and it will continue happening. But if you don't bring those people along, you're going to hit resistance with this change. And sometimes the biggest lever is partnership. And so for context, last year, these megatrends were chosen by our senior leadership team. This was prior to me starting. So when I started, I got a list of megatrends. Hey, these are it. Go research them. And so we are taking a different approach this year, where instead of just having internal expertise be the ones that select and prioritize the megatrends, we are being more collaborative and inviting external partners, aviation, but also just in general here in Colorado, our university partners, researchers, people from across, again, the state that ultimately are going to be impacted by these megatrends in one way or another, but have some sort of collaboration with aviation or just DEN as an airport. And so what we're doing is we're going to host our inaugural Megatrend Symposium next month with the goal of collaboratively selecting our priority trends. From there, the research and discovery phase actually does not have me doing the research, but I tap into our next generation of aviation professionals, and that is our interns, our interns that come, and they start in June. And so what I do is I provide them training and guidance to be able to conduct comprehensive research on the selected megatrends. And so they spend their time engaging with internal stakeholders and also sourcing external research and then synthesizing the two, right? That's how we arrive at the opportunities for DEN. What is it that we need to be prepared for? What are some of these key problem areas that we need to take into account? And they present all of these findings at their DEN Turn showcase in August. So it's a pretty quick turnaround. They've got from June to essentially the end of July, approximately 8 weeks to do this research. And so then what happens is I take all of that information and I compile that into a comprehensive report of the research findings and of their recommended action items. And that then gets sent over to our governance structure, our Innovation Council, and we have a systems integration management office that also looks at those action items. And so now we have this foundation for potential projects that are research-based, and you're starting with the core, right? You're starting with the problem. And so one thing that I found myself telling myself very often over the past year is don't start from scratch, right? Systems thinking. There's always something to build on, and recognizing what's already working really supports building momentum. And so some of the stuff that's on here, we got leadership done capstones, Air Max capstones. These are employee development groups that through their cohorts were producing capstones where they were being asked to generate an idea that would help the airport move forward in some capacity. So very vague in the description that they were being given. And ultimately, what I ended up doing was taking these actionable items from the Megatrends report and saying, hey, let's integrate these two. There's a real opportunity and the timing is perfect. So last year was our first iteration of that, where we had both of these groups really support our phase 3, where they ideated, developed concepts, and even did some pre-piloting exploration, ultimately leading to a business case that they present to our senior leadership team. We also collaborate with universities through their capstones. We currently have some really cool work with the School of Mines that's focused on advanced air mobility, and that also came out of the work from our interns. So some really awesome opportunities. And that's just the start. I'm assuming that as we go forward, we're going to have more and more opportunities to really leverage this phase 3, the phase that most people think about when it comes to innovation, right? That ideation and developing of concepts. And so then what happens once we get to a business case? Well, this is phase 4. This is where we take some time to evaluate, integrate, and implement. And so we have, again, some governance structure, and they're tasked with evaluating for things like feasibility, strategic alignment, and the potential impact. And then once it passes through that gate, we transition into things like full-scale pilots or even full-scale implementation if we're already ready for that. But the goal is to test to learn, not test to validate, right? That's another key change area, shifting the culture around. We're not piloting to validate, but we're piloting to test to make sure that our solution is solving for the right problem. And then lastly, again, just constant iteration, tracking metrics, testing in real environments, making sure that we are cognizant of that feedback loop with the end users, whether that be employees or passengers. Okay, so some lessons learned and things that, if I was starting all over and I had the knowledge that I had now, these were the things that I'd probably tell myself. So I guess starting with the first one, probably the biggest lesson I've learned is how important it is to understand the different parts of the organization early on. Like I've said, done is huge, and innovation doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's happening everywhere. So learning how to build relationships early on so that you can prevent duplicative work, and ultimately that really helps with trust. Knowing what each team contributes and where their efforts overlap is key in building that partnership. Another big learning for me was, again, using the systems that are already in place. So I talked about leadership done capstones. They were already happening when I arrived, but rather than starting from scratch, I saw that opportunity as an opportunity to build momentum, elevating those projects by aligning them to our strategic priorities. And then I would say, stay flexible. That's been so essential. Iteration is your best friend and perfection is the enemy. Don't wait around for perfection. Just start, test, and refine as you go. And then finally, culture matters more than control. If we want innovation to thrive, we need to empower people to lead it and not just reserve it for a select few. Direction and guidance are really important, but innovation becomes real when everyone feels like they have a role in shaping the future. And so with that, I'm going to stop sharing this screen again, and I'm going to pull up another question for you all to answer. Let's see.
Mariana, while you're pulling that up, there was a question. Do you share your testing with business analysts?
Do we share our testing, like our testing results, or tell me more?
Do you share like your test? You were talking about the pilots and all of that, and like testing things and testing plans and getting the feedback and stuff. Do you work with business analysts when you're doing that sort of stuff?
Yes, yes, we do. We in that area of work is largely where my partner Rebecca Tate sits at. So she's really, if we're seeing anything that's flown already into that innovation pipeline, is a lot of the work that she handles. But yes, to answer your question, she does work with business analysts.
Great, thank you.
Mhm. So hopefully you are able to access the next question. It's asking, what is the barrier to innovation in your current organization? I'm curious what some of those big barriers are for you all. Security. Is that security in terms of like regulatory stuff that we have to take into account? I'm curious what that means. Culture for sure. Resistance to change. Yeah, the fear of failure is a big one for sure, right? How do we support folks in knowing that failure is okay? If we're failing fast and we're learning, it's not actually a failure. It can save the business a lot of time and money. Fear. Disconnected innovation teams, for sure. Again, I got here and there were pockets of innovation everywhere. And we're finally at a point where we're all coming together, collaborating towards one vision. Funding, money. Yeah, lots of stuff. Okay, and then on the flip side, I am curious, where do you see opportunity for innovation in your organization right now? So we just listed off what, those barriers, but where do you currently see opportunity for change? In your aviation program, actually, very cool. Where are you located? Disruptive technologies such as AI. So much work around AI, right? Governance being some of that. Teams with organization working on innovation improvement, giving them the tools, time, and authority. Absolutely. Where I see it. Opportunity is everywhere, right? Opportunity is everywhere. And again, that's like part of what happened over here is because there's opportunity everywhere and there are naturally a lot of silos where it's like, ooh, let's do this and this team's doing that. How can we help focus innovation so it's a little bit more strategic? Leadership desire. UX, CX, and EX. Yep. I have a background in user experience, so I definitely get that. All right, I am gonna stop sharing that. And then go back over.
Like questions, if you don't mind me interjecting right now.
Sure, yeah, as I pull up my screen back up.
Yeah. One person asked, will you be providing examples of the innovation or projects that Jen is working on?
Yeah, I can definitely go into that for sure. I can give you an example from phase 1 to where we're at.
Okay. Right, and then I'll save the other couple. There's a couple more, but we'll save them until the end.
Yeah, I've got, I think, a couple more slides. Let's see. Can you see my screen? This being
Yes.
super laggy. Okay, awesome. So let's talk a little bit about the impact so far. So these numbers are pretty small. Again, we haven't actually even gone through a full annual cycle with our megatrends framework. Again, we kicked off with phase 2 essentially last year, where we had 28 interns trained in research, foresight, and trends. And then we had approximately 30 leadership den participants engaged in that phase 3 of concept developing for research-backed business cases. And then we had 8 ENO Air Max fellows also engage in that same type of work. And then I gave you all the example of one of the really cool capstones that we are working on. We have far more than that just aren't necessarily focused on megatrends. Again, we're trying to shift that culture, and so that's going to take some time. And then we had our inaugural aviation megatrends report, where we looked at 7 aviation megatrends. And that was one of the key things that I said. I was like, you know what, 7's a lot, and a lot of action items come out of that. So going forward, we're going to focus on less, because less is more. So 3 to 4 aviation megatrends on an annual basis. And from this, we've had approximately 40 project proposals come through that were inspired by the report. All focus on shaping the future of innovation. And so for us, thinking about what's next. So our team really decided to focus on developing an innovation culture for this next year. So we are currently working with a couple of teams to develop an innovation hub. It's an agnostic Innovate at Den site that will have things like an innovation intake form. So if you are looking to make a change at Den, regardless of the level of innovation, we have one place for those ideas to come through. We will have toolkits, templates, really helping folks have the tools that they need to do things on their own. And should they need more support, they can reach out to the different folks that we'll have listed on the site. We'll have a showcase corner where we celebrate employee-driven solutions. And then also one of the other things that I'm really noticing a need for is an insight repository, so that people can, one, submit the shared learnings from their past efforts, but also if they're wanting to understand what's already been done, they can go in there and search for those things so that they aren't duplicating work that has already been done. And so with that, a few takeaways that I hope you'll carry with you. First, start with the future. Use tools like megatrends or other foresight methods to really ground your change efforts in what's coming, not just on what's happening now. Second, don't just innovate for the sake of it. The best innovations are informed by research and are aligned to organizational goals. Third, use the assets you already have. I can't emphasize that enough. Don't try to build everything from scratch. Again, I use the example that we elevated existing programs like Leadership Den to have greater strategic impact. Fourth, stay flexible. Iteration and adaptability are core to managing change effectively. And then lastly, build a culture that empowers innovation. It's way more important to create systems that support everyone in contributing to the change than trying to centralize innovation in just one place for only a specific group of people. And so with that, I know that we have some Q&A. My LinkedIn is here. If you ever want to connect and chat all things change, I welcome that. And I will stop sharing so that I can see all of your lovely faces and questions.
Okay, so I'm going to scroll back through the chat a little bit. How do you confirm your impacts with such a big organization with different stakeholders? What is your approach?
When you're saying impact, are you saying the impact for our research and innovation team or the impact to the organization.
The impact to the organization.
Mm-hmm. So we have access to all of the organization's metrics and goals. And so really, like I've said, the research and innovation team wants to enable everyone else to be successful in reaching their metrics. So we actually track internally what are the supports, what are the trainings, what are the things that people are utilizing that are helping them then achieve their goals. So people would be trying to achieve their goals regardless of whether or not we existed, but we track the impact that we had in supporting those things.
Okay. Interesting.
Sorry, can I have a follow-up on that? Could you explain, is it like by surveys, by focus group? Like how do you measure that?
So it depends, right? It depends on the group and what it is that they're doing. I have built an internal tracker. It's a logic model around things like, for example, here's this project. How much time did we spend on that? What are the survey results from we do like a pre and post survey when we do trainings to see if we were successful in our goals of getting folks to whatever the training is geared around, right? So if we're trying to help folks with design thinking and getting them the skills around thinking, focusing on the problem, making sure that we have the user centered around the solution, then we track things via a survey. And so it really just depends on the project, but we do have internal spreadsheets that are keeping track of all the hours, tools, templates, trainings that we provide across the organization.
Perfect, thank you.
Great. The next question is how long is the life cycle from Megatrend Symposium to actionable projects?
Yeah. So if you think about it, it's almost a year, right? But it doesn't always end at a year perfectly because phase 4 is really where it's like,
right.
It depends. I don't know how long pilots are going to go for. And there's no guarantee that just because a project goes into the pilot phase does not necessarily mean we're going to go out and implement it. Because if we learn, hey, this isn't the right solution, actually we should be looking at something else, then that's actually going to take longer. But if you're asking from when we kick off phase 1 in the spring. We end phase 2 in August. We wrap up by synthesizing into a report that actually is handed over to our strategic partners here at DEN because they do a strategic refresh internally here in the fall. And so then we have all of these projects really kick off around the same time during the fall. And then as far as the timeline of how long those projects last, depends.
Right.
Can I have a follow-up to that as I asked that question?
Of course.
Thank you. A really, really good presentation. I can't thank you enough. 40 projects coming out of that sort of life cycle with 40 projects. And I think there was also a question like, how do you then, vet those? How do you pick and choose and make sure, like, at the end, from 40 projects, you end up with 10, 20, and what does that process look like?
Yeah, we really rely on our governance structure. We have an innovation council that's composed of different senior leadership group members. We have an innovation working group. So we have all these different groups of people. So people from sustainability, people from different realms in operation that sit on these committees. And they're the ones that are saying, okay, because they're the subject matter experts. I am not, right? They better understand the problems and they can better understand the direction that we need to go to. And so we really rely on them to be the ones that say, okay, this is the project that needs to go forward. This other project can actually probably wait so we can put it in the parking lot. Or they also help us with decisions around, hey, this project is more so process improvement type. So let's actually go send this off to Mike Scholl's team, who's on this call, continuous improvement. And they can support us with things like actually, this would be a really good fit for this leadership done group. Let's put together a team and have them be the ones that move forward. Or in other cases, hey, this project really belongs to this team within operations. Let's have it route that way.
And I think that kind of touched on Angie's question too. It says, do you have a scoring mechanism to prioritize, choose projects for execution? But I think that you've kind of answered that. Your innovation council helps do all that.
Mm-hmm. And we also have a new systems integration management office that sits within our executive office. And their job is also to support that evaluation. But then when we know, okay, we've evaluated, we want to move forward, they're that next layer of integration. So they are making sure that the right people are brought in early on, whether that's internal folks, but also thinking about our broader community, who could be impacted, whose voice needs to be integrated in this, and at what capacity.
Right. Very cool. Okay. One more question before we go to wrap up, because we're getting close to the hour. You said there were only pockets of innovation, but now it's more common. How do you make it safe to offer ideas that challenge the status quo?
Could you kindly repeat the question or rephrase that? There's pockets of innovation occurring.
But now it is more common. How did you make it safe to offer ideas that challenge the status quo?
How do we make it safe so that people are okay? So just like culture-wise, being able to talk about the ideas, feeling comfortable. Yeah, a lot of it is, again, foundational is trust. So ensuring that you take the time to go out and talk to different groups across the organization and making it so that there is this psychological safety where people are feeling like no idea is a bad idea. And especially if I have done my due diligence around seeing, hey, what is Den really focused on for the year, looking at these megatrends, the research has already been done for them, and saying like, hey, here's a really cool idea. Or I was out, doing my job and I saw this problem area and I want to submit an idea. And then also on the back end, supporting them in being able to do some more research around what does it look like to put together a business case so that I can actually move it forward, right? Because ideas are just ideas if you don't have action behind it.
Yeah, agreed. Wonderful. Okay. Thank you so much, Mariana. This was really, really, really good. I appreciate your time with us today.
I appreciate everyone's time on this call.
It was an excellent presentation. Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. So, and also thanks to the board, PSCP board. You guys are rock stars, always getting things aligned and doing the work behind the scenes. I appreciate you as well. Before you go, you guys, you've got a link already in the chat. Thank you, Patricia. Go ahead and fill out the survey before you go for PMI PDUs if you need those. We also have started, we're on Blue Sky now, social media. So if you want to scan that QR code and join us on Blue Sky, that would be awesome. And as always, the PSCP website and our LinkedIn group. We've been there for a long, long time. So feel free to join us in any of those locations. Until next time, guys, we will see you when it's solid summertime in June. We don't know the date yet, but we'll let you know as soon as we know. So I appreciate everyone being here. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day and your week. Bye-bye, everyone. Great job, everyone. That was really awesome, Mariana. Thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really glad that Rebecca made the connection and